let's talk about the 6 books that I DNF'd for the month of April. Now, I noticed that other people inside of Goodreads will take their DNF books and mark them into a bookshelf called DNF, which I guess I could do because sometimes I read a book, I don't know if this happens to you, and I'm like, hey, I think I read this before, and it's totally a book maybe that I DNF'd or that I didn't like, or even if I liked it, I just totally forgot because I'm reading so many books. But my reading challenge for the year is 200, and if I mark those as read and then so that I can catalog them as DNF, then I think that would throw my reading challenge off. Although I guess I could backdate it and change the date that I read it to like last year. But then it would look like I read it last year. I don't know. Let me know what you do with your DNF list so that you don't accidentally read them again and like how you track them. I thought I could do these videos so one, I could share with you my DNF list, but also then I could track what I DNF'd. So I don't know. I don't know the answer. Let me know what you do. Hi everyone, I'm Lisa, author of the Frosted Misfortunes Cozy Mystery Series starring my own little kitty cat, Lucky. Welcome to my booktube channel where we talk all about mysteries, whether those are books, TV shows, or movies. So if this sounds like you or something you might be interested in, make sure to hit the subscribe button at the bottom. I post new videos every Tuesday and I do extra videos because I just can't help myself. I've been reading a lot of books. I can't wait to talk about them. I'm very excited about it. So let's get into April's DNF list. So there's 6 of them. The first one is Survival of the Fritters by Ginger Bolton. And those looked so cute, right? So they were donuts and I like donuts. I wanted to read more about donuts. I actually made it to chapter 18 in this book. So I gave it a good, like solid try, I think. And so here's why I DNF'd it. There was basically about this woman who her ex-husband was killed. He's a cop. And then there were like too many cops. And then his partner, she calls on him to help solve this murder mystery. And then there's other cops too working on the investigation. So there were just cops everywhere. And then there's cops at the donut shop and, yeah, there were just so many anyways, she opens the donut shop because it reminds her of her ex-husband who liked donuts. I know it's so cliche, he's a cop. And so she opens it up with this other guy who like literally does 99.9% of the work. I don't know what she does. She's like never making donuts. She's never serving customers. It was just kind of weird how the donut shop was running. Anyways, her neighbor is hit on the head and then her cat goes back and forth between the neighbor's house. And so they kind of share the cat. And I don't know, just in general, I wasn't too into the book. And so there are 2 murders in here. One is a doll maker who dies, and the second one is the butcher shop owner. And no one really seems to care, except her neighbor was like friends with the knitting shop maker. And then there's like these knitting women that come to the donut shop. I don't know. I just couldn't really get into this one. So, and there was also, I think there was a lot of fat shaming for the characters. So it was really funny. I don't know anything about this author or her other books, but every time there was a evil person, they were fat. She was like the way they described it, and they're like, and here comes this pudgy man, and here comes this person with his gut hanging out over. Like if they had any excess weight, they were bad people. Even like when she talks to the postal worker, I thought it was just like a regular investigation. And then she's like, and then she tapped her pudgy fingers on the table, and I knew she was lying. So I don't know. I thought that was a little bizarre. So that was supposed to be a DNF for me, but I kept giving it a chance. I gave it I feel like a solid chance to chapter 18. Okay. So the next is Murder and Mayhem in Goose, Pimple, Junction. This is the first in the Goose, Pimple, Junction mysteries. And I actually read this on paper. I did not do most because I've been listening to so many audiobooks. This one looks so cute. I was like, I will sit down and take the time to actually read it with my eyes. And so so I didn't even make it past like chapter 2. Basically, it goes from, and I'm not a fan of flashbacks. It goes from 1932 to 1979 to present day. So it was very confusing how it kept doing that. And then on top of it, it was the main character. At first I thought she was joking. She hears these 2 men like talking to each other, and they were being super mean and evil to each other, like hurtling, like really mean, hurtful, condescending insults back and forth. And she says, that gave me a warm, glowy feeling of how nice it is to be back in a small town. And honestly, I thought she was kidding, but like they keep going on with insults and she's like, oh, another one. So great. Like it was very odd. So I was like, this is probably not the book for me, especially once they started doing the flashbacks to the time. So that was the DNF. The other one was Cake and Punishment by Maymee Bell. And again, I am a big sucker for culinary cozies, especially any ones with baking in them. So I was super excited about this. Now, this is about a New Yorker who she's having boyfriend, whatever problem. So she comes back home. Her cousin happens to be getting married. It's in the Deep South. I think it's in Kentucky. And she is kind of forced into helping her cousin because the cake person is missing. And so they're like, well, you'll help make the cake, right? And you'll help with decorating. And I think it's with decorating. Maybe it's not with the cake. It just seemed like there was too much insta bestie friends. Like, so she comes back to the small town and then she runs into people and they're like, too buddy, which I don't know. It just felt kind of fake. I think that was the reason. Like, there's nothing wrong with like running into old friends, being excited to see them, but it just felt kind of contrived. And so, yeah. So I just stopped reading it after chapter 3 or 4. A Deadly Eclair by Daryl Woods Gerber. So this is the first in the French Bistro Mysteries, which is really exciting. This is another one. I read it I think I stopped like 3 chapters short of the end. So I just kept going. And sometimes I think for me, it feels like a failure to stop reading, even though the book is awful. But I just decided that life is too short and I shouldn't keep forcing myself to read things that I don't like. But anyways, this is set in Napa Valley. This woman is like poor and I don't know, it didn't really make a lot of sense. So she opens up this French bistro. This guy like gives her all the money and gives her this huge chateau like mansion that she can open up as a bed and breakfast as well. And she just needs to like pay him back, right? And so his niece is getting married and she's going to cater the wedding and, they're all staying at the B&B and he gets killed, her benefactor, right? And he writes off her debt. And so she's possibly a murder suspect. And then the family is there. They might be murder suspects as well because they were written to different parts of the will. And I guess just overall, it felt like she was interjecting herself into a mystery that didn't really apply to her. She didn't really care about. So even though the mystery was going on, she was worried more about making money and the bottom line, which I know sounds silly because there's some mysteries where I'm like, she's not even working in her job. But this one just seemed like kind of callous and like she didn't really seem to care about anything but herself. She just like whines a lot too. So yeah, so I didn't really like it. And overall, it was just kind of boring. I don't know why. So this is the one and only Daryl Woods book that I've read. And Daryl Wood Gerber, sorry. She has 3 names. And I believe it's a woman. The next one is, and I feel so bad saying this for a DNF, it's Live and Let Chai by Bree Baker. Now, I usually love Julie Ann Lindsay's book, and maybe it's because I listened to this as an audiobook, and I gave this probably like 9 or 10 chapters of a try. I'm not a big fan of Southern mysteries, but I was a big fan of Julie Ann Lindsay, so I tried it. The problem was the main character in the audiobooks like shrieking and sounds super self-absorbed and just doesn't sound like she cares for it. So like basically she opens a sweet tea place down in the Deep South and she has her aunts there and they make jokes. It's like, so there's this guy in the neighborhood who wants to know her ingredients in her food, which I don't know what the rules are by FDA regulations or whatever, but she's like, I don't want to give you my ingredients because they are secret family recipes. And so he turns up dead after drinking one of her teas, which has been poisoned. So obviously her store would be shut down because she's a prime suspect and the poison came from her shop. And so she's like screaming at the police officer, like, how dare you accuse me? How dare you shut my shop down? And I was like, these seem like very common sense things that would naturally happen if someone is poisoned drinking your tea. So that was just kind of odd. And she had dropped out of pastry school because of a boy. So already she's kind of like a big loser in my mind. Like, who would quit their career because of a guy? Like, that just seems silly to me. Anyways, she said she put her whole life savings into this sweet tea place. And so now she's worried that it might go out of business. But I just stopped reading it right about like when they were like talking about dating, and they were like, I don't date anybody who is from north of the Mason-Dixon line. And just hearing that just reminds me of like pride in the Confederate flag in the Deep South. So it kind of like was a little too Southern for me, I guess. I don't know how to say it. So I stopped reading it at that point. However, I do still like Julian Lindsay, so I won't give this series another try, but I would give any of her other new series a try. And possibly, so the next book too is based in the South, and same reason I didn't finish it. So it's just possible I'm not into deep South, Southern mysteries, where people are super proud of the Confederate flag and being south of the Mason-Dixon line. That's probably just not something I can relate to or get excited about. This was Dead as a Door Knocker by Diane Kelly. It was first in a house flipper mystery, so I thought it'd be fun to read like a real estate mystery. But this one I read probably the first 3 or 4 chapters and gave up. But she starts out as a property manager, and she has to kick these kids out that have been behind on their rent. But she's talking about how the neighborhood's poor, and like it was just kind of odd, and how she feels for them, but then she like is super annoyed that they're there and wants to kick them out. Anyways, the owner that she works for, the property manager, she doesn't work for him. He's like a client, and she gets the opportunity from him to buy the place. And so she's wondering if she can buy the place. And then she calls up her cousin. I'm not even sure what the murder was. It was just a little too Southern for me. And I did listen to an audiobook, so maybe that's why, just hearing the accent. So those are all of the books that I DNF'd for April. Let me know too, how do you track your DNFs? Because I'm pretty sure you don't go out and create a YouTube video just so you know which books you DNF'd. I'm thinking about maybe I should just put it on Goodreads where I backdate it to like the year 1900 or something, so then it doesn't count at all towards my reading challenges or books read or something. So yeah, thinking out loud. All right, I hope everyone's having a fabulous day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.